The officiant hadn't finished his sentence when the screen behind us lit up. A slideshow. Photos I had never seen before. Messages taken completely out of context. Laughter rippled through the room before I even understood why. My husband squeezed my hand, not to comfort me, but to keep me standing. I realized at that moment this wasn't a mistake. It was a performance. I stood there in my white dress, frozen, while 200 people watched something I didn't recognize. The images flashed across the screen, one after another. Text messages with timestamps. Photos that looked wrong, edited maybe, or staged. I couldn't breathe properly. My heart pounded so loud I thought everyone could hear it. The room felt like it was spinning, but I forced myself to stay still, to not react, to not give them what they wanted. Because somewhere deep inside, even though I didn't understand everything yet, I knew one thing for certain. This had been planned. Every second of it. And my husband, the man I was supposed to marry, the man whose hand I was holding, he knew exactly what was happening. His grip tightened when I tried to pull away. "Stay," he whispered, so quietly that only me could hear it. That's when I knew I was trapped. Phones were already raised all around the room. People were recording, filming my humiliation in real time. Someone near the front whispered, "This is savage," and laughed like it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. My husband leaned closer, his lips almost touching my ear. "Smile," he said softly. "You'll ruin everything if you don't." That's when I understood. The humiliation wasn't the point. Control was. He wanted me to stand there and take it, to smile through the pain, to prove I could be managed, controlled, broken down in front of everyone I loved. I felt my face go numb. My hands started shaking, so I clasped them together tight enough to hurt. The slideshow kept playing behind us. I didn't turn around to look anymore. I couldn't. Instead, I watched the faces in the crowd. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others looked curious, excited even. A few were laughing openly now, like this was entertainment. My mother's face was pale. She looked like she might faint. My best friend, standing near the front in her bridesmaid dress, wouldn't meet my eyes. That silence, that refusal to look at me, it told me more than the screen ever could. She knew. She knew this was coming. When the slideshow finally ended, people clapped. Not for me, for him, for the courage of a man exposing the truth on his wedding day. Someone shouted, "You deserve better, man." Another voice called out, "Good for you." I tasted blood where I'd bitten the inside of my cheek too hard to keep from screaming. The applause felt like fire on my skin. Every clap was another reminder that these people I'd invited, people I'd trusted, were celebrating my destruction. My husband released my hand finally. He stepped forward toward the microphone, and I realized he was going to speak. "I'm sorry you all had to see that," he said, his voice steady and calm. "But I couldn't marry someone who's been lying to me, to all of us." More applause. He painted himself as the victim, the brave one, the hero of his own story. And I was the villain. Standing there in my wedding dress, speechless and shaking, I became the bad guy in a story I didn't even know I was in. No one asked me if it was true. No one asked for my side. They just believed him. Because he spoke first. Because he controlled the narrative. Because I was too shocked to fight back. I didn't cry or beg. Neither did I collapse or scream or throw anything. I just walked out. Alone, in my wedding dress. The fabric dragged behind me as I moved through the silent crowd. People stepped aside like I was contagious. Behind me, I heard my mother sobbing. Loud, broken sounds that made my chest ache. But I didn't stop. I kept walking, one foot in front of the other, my heels clicking against the marble floor. My best friend stood near the door. I had to pass right by her. She didn't meet my eyes, didn't say a word, just stood there, looking at the ground, her hands twisted together. That silence told me everything I needed to know. She was part of this. Maybe not the whole plan, but enough. She knew something. She'd chosen not to warn me. When I reached the exit, I pushed through the heavy doors and stepped outside into the cool evening air. The parking lot was empty. Our getaway car, decorated with flowers and ribbons, sat waiting. But there would be no getaway, no honeymoon, no happily ever after. I stood there for a moment, breathing hard, trying to process what had just happened. Then my phone buzzed. That night, alone in a hotel room I'd booked with trembling hands, he texted me. "You embarrassed me. We'll fix this tomorrow." I read it 3 times. Not us. Not "we'll talk." Not even an apology. Just, "we'll fix this." Like I was a problem, a broken thing that needed to be repaired. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my wedding dress, and stared at those words. "You embarrassed me." I embarrassed him? He'd humiliated me in front of 200 people, destroyed my reputation, made me look like a liar and a cheat. And somehow, I was the one who embarrassed him? The anger that flooded through me was so intense I thought I might throw up. But I didn't respond. I just sat there, holding my phone, my hands shaking. Another text came through. "Don't do anything stupid. We can fix this if you cooperate." Cooperate? Like I was a child. Like I was the one who'd done something wrong. I turned off my phone and threw it across the room. Then I sat in the silence, in that expensive hotel room, in my ruined wedding dress. And I started to think, really think. For the first time since the slideshow started, my mind began to clear. And I realized something important. He expected me to break. But I wasn't going to. By morning, the story was everywhere. Social media, group chats, whispers that spread faster than I could track. They told people I was unstable, that I'd been hiding things, that the wedding exposure was necessary, that he'd done the right thing, that I'd manipulated him. Every version of the story painted me as the villain and him as the victim. I watched it spread from the hotel room, scrolling through post after post, comment after comment. People I barely knew had strong opinions about my character. Friends defended him. Strangers called me terrible names. And I let them talk. I didn't defend myself. Didn't post anything. Didn't call anyone to explain. I just watched. Because I was learning something valuable. People always reveal more when they think you're broken. When they think you're defeated, they get comfortable. They say things they wouldn't normally say. They get sloppy. And I needed them to be sloppy. So I stayed quiet. I stayed invisible. I let them think I was curled up somewhere, crying and broken. While the truth was, I was watching, taking screenshots, making lists, noting who said what, who believed the lies, who spread them further. Every piece of information was useful. Every betrayal was noted. Because quiet doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes, quiet is just preparation. While packing my things from our apartment 2 days later, I found a folder I didn't recognize. It was tucked behind some books on his desk. Inside were legal documents, drafts of prenuptial agreements, different versions with different terms, my signature on some of them. But I'd never signed anything, never even seen these papers before. I sat down hard, the folder shaking in my hands. My signature had been copied, forged, on documents that would have given him control of everything I owned. My savings, my inheritance from my grandmother, even my small business. All of it, signed away, except I never signed it. That's when something shifted inside me. The rage that had been shaking my hands for days suddenly stopped. It didn't disappear. It just changed. It became colder, sharper, more focused. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't confused. I was clear. This wasn't just about humiliation. This was about money, control, a planned theft disguised as a marriage. And I'd almost fallen for it. I took photos of every page, uploaded them to 3 different cloud accounts. Then I put the folder back exactly where I'd found it, because now I knew something he didn't. I knew what he'd tried to do, and he had no idea I'd found out. That was my advantage. The first one, I asked my best friend one question when she finally called. "Did you know?" Just those 3 words. She answered too quickly. "Know what?" "No, of course not." I was shocked like everyone else. But her voice cracked in the wrong place. The pause came too late. She was lying. I'd known her for 12 years. I could hear the lie. "Okay," I said calmly. "I believe you." We talked for a few more minutes. She offered sympathy, said she was there for me, and asked if I needed anything. I thanked her. Then later that night, I saw his name light up her phone screen. I was at her apartment, accepting her offer to stay over so I wouldn't be alone. Her phone was on the coffee table between us. Incoming call, Alex. My husband's name. She grabbed the phone quickly, sent it to voicemail, and smiled at me. Spam call, she said. But I'd seen it. I'd seen his name, and I didn't say a word. I didn't confront her, didn't demand answers, didn't accuse her of anything. I just smiled back. Thanks for being here, I told her. I really need you right now. She hugged me, and I let her, while my mind cataloged everything, the lie, the phone call, the fear in her eyes when she grabbed her phone. I thanked her for showing me exactly who she was. I posted a vague apology online 3 days after the wedding. I'm taking time to heal and reflect. Thank you to everyone who has reached out. I'm sorry for any pain I've caused. My message was short, humble, defeated sounding. Exactly what they'd expected. The sympathy poured in immediately. Hundreds of comments telling me to stay strong, that time heals all wounds, that I deserve better. But more importantly, confidence poured in from them, from my husband, from my former best friend, from everyone who'd been part of it. They started getting sloppy. My husband posted something vague about moving forward and learning from mistakes. My friend posted a photo with him, casually, like it was nothing. Just two friends supporting each other through a hard time. But I saw it for what it was. They were getting comfortable. They thought I was done, broken, defeated. They thought I'd accepted the story they'd written about me. And that comfort, that confidence, it made them careless. Messages became less guarded. Posts became more revealing. They stopped watching their backs. Because as far as they knew, I was already beaten. I was already gone. And people don't watch for threats that they think are already destroyed. So I let them believe I was done. While I was just getting started. He called to check on me a week later. His voice was kind, concerned, like he cared. Hey, I know things are hard right now. I just wanted to see how you're doing. I kept my voice small. Broken. I'm okay, just trying to understand everything. That's when he started talking. Too much. He talked about how clean everything was legally, how the lawyers said there wouldn't be any problems, how everyone believed his version. The important thing is we both move on, he said. No need to drag this out. He talked for 20 minutes, explaining things he didn't need to explain, justifying things I hadn't questioned, bragging almost about how well his plan had worked. Arrogance always thinks it's invisible. He didn't notice my phone recording the entire call, didn't hear the slight echo that meant I was on speaker, didn't suspect anything because he thought I was weak, defeated, too broken to fight back. I hope we can both find peace, he said at the end. Me too, I replied softly. When we hung up, I had 20 minutes of him confessing to things I'd only suspected. 20 minutes of evidence in his own voice, explaining exactly how he'd planned everything. I saved the file in 4 different places. Then I smiled, because he'd just given me everything I needed. And he had no idea. I spent the next week going through financial records. Bank statements, credit reports, loan applications. What I found made my blood run cold. Wedding expenses had been routed through accounts I'd never touched. Over $60,000 charged to credit cards I didn't know existed. All in my name. Loans I'd never applied for. Debts I'd never agreed to. My credit score had dropped 200 points. Assets had been quietly shifted, my savings account drained. My grandmother's inheritance moved to a joint account I'd never opened. They hadn't just tried to humiliate me. They'd tried to bury me financially, destroy my credit, saddle me with debt, leave me with nothing, so I'd have no choice but to come back. To apologize, to accept whatever terms they offered. It was brilliant in a horrible way. Trap someone emotionally and financially at the same time. Make sure they have nowhere to go. But they'd made one mistake. They'd assumed I wouldn't notice until it was too late. They'd assumed I was too trusting, too naive, too broken to check. I printed every document, highlighted every fraudulent signature, cross-referenced every transaction, built a timeline showing exactly when each theft occurred. And I realized something. This wasn't just my husband. This was organized, planned by multiple people. Someone with financial knowledge. Someone with legal access. Someone I trusted. And I was going to find out who. I stopped sleeping. Not from grief, from focus. Every night, I worked. Every document scanned. Every message archived. Every transaction traced. I built spreadsheets, timelines, evidence maps. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is hot and messy and blind. I have passed that now. I was precise, cold, calculated, and methodical. I learned things I'd never known before. How to track financial fraud. How to preserve digital evidence. How to build a legal case that couldn't be torn apart. I watched videos, read articles, consulted with lawyers anonymously. My apartment became a war room. Papers covered the walls, sticky notes with dates and names, strings connecting different pieces of evidence. It looked crazy, maybe, but it wasn't. It was organized rage, channeled into something useful, something unstoppable. During the day, I played the part they expected, sad, withdrawn, healing slowly. But at night, I worked, building the case that would destroy them, piece by piece, document by document, until the evidence was so overwhelming, so undeniable that no lawyer or judge or public opinion could ignore it. I was done being the victim in their story. I was writing my own ending now, and it wasn't going to be pretty. Not for them. My friend showed up at my door 2 weeks later, crying, makeup running down her face, hands shaking. "I need to talk to you," she said. I let her in. She sat on my couch and told me everything through sobs. How Alex had pressured her, how she'd been scared, how it wasn't supposed to go that far, how she'd only given him some information, how she didn't know he'd use it like that. "I'm so sorry," she cried. "I never meant to hurt you. I don't know what I thought." I hugged her while she sobbed into my shoulder. "It's okay," I whispered. "I forgive you." The whole time my phone was recording everything in my pocket. She never noticed. Never thought to check. She just kept talking, confessing, explaining, telling me about the messages between her and Alex, the meetings they'd had, the plan they discussed, how he'd promised her money, how he'd convinced her I was hiding things from everyone, how she'd believed him. Every word was captured. Every confession documented. When she finally left, she hugged me again. "Thank you for understanding," she said. "You're the best friend I've ever had." I smiled. "You too," I said. Then I closed the door and listened to the recording 3 times, making sure every word was clear, every confession undeniable. She just handed me everything I needed. And she thought I'd forgiven her. I forgave her publicly the next day, posted about it online. How she'd come to me, how we'd talked, how I understood she'd been manipulated too, how our friendship was stronger than ever. The comments flooded in. "You're so gracious. This is true friendship. We need more people like you in the world." People praised my grace, my maturity, my kindness, and she saw it all. She called me, crying again, but this time from relief. "Thank you," she said. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do," I lied. She relaxed after that. Started posting photos of us together, talking about second chances and growth and forgiveness. She thought everything was fine. She thought I'd actually forgiven her. She had no idea the recording was saved in 6 different places. No idea I'd already sent it to my lawyer. No idea that every photo we took together, every message she sent was just more evidence of her involvement. She thought my forgiveness was real, but it wasn't. It was a strategy. Because relaxed people make mistakes. Comfortable people get careless, and that was the last mistake she was going to make. I didn't need her to be scared. I needed her confidence. So when everything came out, she wouldn't see it coming, just like I hadn't seen what happened at the wedding. Coming. Fair is fair. A journalist reached out to me 3 weeks after the wedding, via email, very professional and careful. Someone had leaked documents to them. Financial records, screenshots of messages. Not everything, just enough to raise questions. They wanted to know if I had any comments. if the wedding incident was connected to financial irregularities, if I was aware of fraud being committed in my name. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I called my lawyer. "Someone's leaking information," I said. "You?" he asked. "No, someone else. Someone who knows part of the story, but not everything." We discussed strategy, decided I shouldn't comment. Not yet, but the journalist published anyway. A small article, raising questions, connecting dots, not accusing anyone directly, but pointing out inconsistencies. My husband panicked. I could see it in his messages to my friend, in the sudden spike of phone calls, in the defensive posts online. Panicked people destroy themselves. They make mistakes. They overreact. They reveal things they meant to keep hidden. He posted a long denial, called the article fake news, threatened to sue, which only made more people interested. The article got shared, discussed, and analyzed. People started asking questions he couldn't answer. And I watched it all happen. I was calm, quiet, and patient, while he tore himself apart trying to control a narrative that was slipping away. He accused me of lying publicly after that article, posted a long statement calling me manipulative and unstable, threatened to take me to court for defamation, dragged my name louder than before, bringing up the wedding again, showing the photos again, trying to remind everyone that I was the bad one. I let him. Didn't respond, didn't defend myself, didn't post anything. Just let him make noise, because noise makes echoes. The louder he got, the more attention he drew. The more attention he drew, the more people started looking. Really looking. At the timeline, at the evidence, at the inconsistencies in his story. Journalists started digging deeper. People who'd been at the wedding started remembering details that didn't quite fit. Someone posted about the slideshow, how the photos looked edited, how the timing seemed too perfect. Another person mentioned seeing him with my friend weeks before the wedding, looking very close. Small details, small cracks, but cracks spread. And the more he tried to patch them with anger and accusations, the more obvious the cracks became. He was destroying himself. And I didn't have to do anything except stay quiet and let him. Because the truth was coming out on its own now, not because I pushed it, but because he'd made so much noise that people couldn't help but notice. I spent another 2 weeks organizing everything. Emails, audio recordings, signed statements from people who'd witnessed things, financial trails showing exactly where the money went, everything cross-verified, time-stamped, legally documented. My lawyer reviewed it all. "This is airtight," he said. "You could release this tomorrow and end it." "No," I said. "Why not?" "Because I'm waiting for maximum impact." He didn't argue. He understood. Timing was everything. Release it too early and they'd have time to spin it, to create counter-narratives, to muddy the water. Release it too late and people would stop caring. But release it at exactly the right moment. When public attention was high, when his credibility was already shaky, when people were already asking questions, that's when the truth would hit hardest. So I waited. I didn't rush, didn't panic, didn't let impatience make me sloppy. I just kept gathering evidence, keep building the case. I kept preparing for the moment when I would release everything at once. Not in anger, not for revenge, but for justice, for the truth. For every person who'd ever been betrayed and gaslit and told they were crazy for seeing what was right in front of them. I was going to give them undeniable proof. And there would be no argument left, no defense, just facts. The wedding video resurfaced 6 weeks later. Not the version that had been shared originally. A different one. Slowed down, analyzed, contextualized. Someone had gone through it frame by frame. They noticed his smile, how it never faltered, how he looked calm, prepared, rehearsed. They noticed the timing, how the slideshow started at exactly the right moment, how the photos were professionally edited. They noticed people in the crowd who didn't look surprised, who had their phones ready before anything happened. It was obvious once you looked closely. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. It was choreographed. The video went viral, millions of views, thousands of comments. Public opinion shifted like a snapped bone. Very sudden, complete, and irreversible. People who'd supported him turned against him. I can't believe I fell for this. He planned this whole thing. She was set up. The narrative flipped overnight. I watched it happen from my apartment, sitting cross-legged on the floor, my laptop open, and I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not happiness. Not even relief. Just a cold certainty that this was how it was supposed to happen. The truth was coming out. Not because I forced it, but because lies always fall apart eventually. They just need time. And patience. And I had both. My former friend fell first. Her employer watched the confession recording, the one where she admitted to helping Alex, to taking money, to lying to me. They fired her within 24 hours. Her sponsors, the small brands she'd worked with as an influencer, dropped her. Her other friends, the ones who'd believed her innocent act, disappeared. She called me 27 times in 2 days. I never answered. Every call went to voicemail. Every message went unread. She posted apologies online, long rambling explanations about being manipulated and making mistakes, but no one cared. Because her confession was clear. Her role was undeniable. She'd betrayed her best friend for money, and people don't forgive that easily. I watched her social media following drop, watched her posts get angry comments, watched her life unravel the same way mine had. Except I'd been innocent. And she wasn't. I felt nothing watching it happen. No satisfaction, no revenge, no closure, just nothing. She'd made her choice. Now she was living with it. And I'd moved on. I didn't need to watch her fall. I didn't need to gloat or celebrate or send one last message telling her what she'd lost. She already knew. And that was enough. I filed the lawsuit on a Tuesday morning, clean, professional, and undeniable. I filed for fraud, defamation, identity theft, and emotional distress. Pages and pages of documentation. Evidence so thorough that my lawyer called it the most organized case he'd ever seen. I didn't give interviews, didn't post about it, didn't cry or make speeches or explain myself, just filed. Let the facts speak for themselves. Because facts don't need sympathy. They don't need context or emotion or persuasion. They just exist. Undeniable, unmovable, true. The court date was set. Alex hired 3 different lawyers, posted angry rants about being victimized, claimed I was lying, but his lawyers saw the evidence. They saw the forged signatures, the recorded confessions, the financial trails. They advised him to settle. He refused. I'll win in court, he told people. The truth will come out. But the truth was already out. Every document filed became public record. Journalists covered it, people analyzed it. The evidence spread faster than he could deny it. His support crumbled. His family stopped defending him. His friends went quiet, and still he fought. Because admitting he was wrong would mean admitting he destroyed someone innocent. And his ego wouldn't let him do that. So I waited, patient as ever, for the day we'd stand in court, and he'd have to face what he'd done. He posted a video apology 6 weeks before the court date, sitting in his apartment, eyes red, voice shaking. I made mistakes, he said to the camera. I hurt someone I cared about. I'm sorry. He cried on cue, paused for effect, performed grief the same way he'd performed betrayal. But comments were turned off. His sponsors were already gone, his career frozen, his reputation destroyed. No one was listening anymore. The apology was too late, too calculated, too obviously an attempt to save himself. People saw through it immediately. Where was this before the lawsuit? He's only sorry he got caught. Apology not accepted. I watched the video once, felt nothing. He'd tried to destroy me when he thought he'd win. Now he was sorry because he was losing. That's not remorse. That's self-preservation. And I had no use for it. I didn't respond, didn't acknowledge it, didn't give him the satisfaction of knowing I'd even seen it. I just let it exist in the void. Another piece of evidence showing exactly who he was. Someone who only cared about consequences when they affected him. Someone who'd never actually loved me. Just loved what he thought he could take from me. And now he had nothing. Not my money, not my trust, not my forgiveness. Nothing. Exactly what he deserved. Clips from our wedding day followed him everywhere after that. Memes, analysis videos, reaction compilations. Every laugh from the crowd dissected. Every smile on his face questioned. Every moment of my humiliation turned into evidence of his cruelty. He became the villain of his own footage. The internet does that sometimes. Takes something someone meant as power and turns it into their downfall. He'd wanted to expose me, to control the narrative, to be the hero. Instead, he became a case study in manipulation, in public humiliation, in how abusers disguise cruelty as righteousness. Psychology channels analyzed his behavior. True crime podcasts covered the financial fraud. Relationship experts used him as an example of what to avoid. He tried to disappear from social media, deleted accounts, changed his name on some platforms. But the internet doesn't forget. Screenshots exist forever. The wedding video had been downloaded thousands of times. He couldn't escape what he'd done. It would follow him for years, maybe forever. Every job interview, every new relationship, every attempt to rebuild, someone would eventually find it. Aren't you that guy from the wedding video? And he'd have to answer, or lie, or run, for the rest of his life. That was his consequence, not jail. Not poverty, just the permanent stain of his own actions. I released everything at once on the day before the court hearing, not in anger, not for revenge, just in order. A comprehensive timeline, every piece of evidence, every document, every recording, all of it, organized, labeled, easy to follow. I posted it on a simple website. No dramatic captions, no emotional appeals, just facts, the truth about what happened, evidence included. Then I shared the link once, let other people spread it. And they did. It went everywhere within hours. Journalists wrote full articles, people made summary threads, the evidence was analyzed and verified by multiple sources. It ended arguments. There was nothing left to debate, no room for interpretation, no way to spin it. The truth was just there, clear and undeniable. Comment sections fell silent after the initial surge. What was there to say? He'd done it. The evidence proved it. That was that. Even his last few defenders went quiet. The case settled out of court the next morning. Full restitution, public apology, signed agreements that he'd never contact me again. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. But it was done. Finally, completely done, and I could move on. I was already somewhere else when the settlement was finalized. New apartment, new job, new city even. I'd started over weeks before, didn't wait for closure or permission or public vindication. I just left. My name had been cleared without me having to defend it. The truth had done that for me. And that felt like real power, not control, not revenge, not victory, just freedom. I didn't follow the news anymore, didn't check what people were saying, didn't wonder what Alex or my former friend were doing. I deleted social media apps, stopped reading comments, stopped performing my life for an audience. I just lived, quietly, privately, on my own terms. I made new friends who didn't know my story, started projects I actually cared about, rebuilt my savings, slowly, carefully, and began to trust again. Not everyone, not quickly, but I began. Because staying broken would have meant they won, and they didn't win. I did, not because I destroyed them, but because I survived them, because I turned pain into power. Humiliation into evidence, weakness into patience, because I walked away on my own terms, untouched by the lies they tried to bury me in. That was victory, real, quiet, permanent victory. They never contacted me again, not because they didn't want to, but because there was nothing left to say. The legal agreements forbade it. But more than that, what would they even say? They tried to break me publicly, humiliate me, steal from me, destroy my reputation and my future. And instead, they taught me exactly how strong quiet can be, how patience is more powerful than anger, how the truth doesn't need to be shouted to be heard. I learned that silence isn't weakness, it's observation, strategy, and strength. I learned that not every betrayal deserves a reaction. Some deserve documentation. I learned that revenge is easy, but justice takes time. And I learned that the best way to win is to become someone they can't touch anymore. Not through anger or bitterness or spite, but through peace. Through building a life so far removed from them that they become irrelevant. They wanted to see me broken. Instead, they made me unbreakable. And that's something they'll have to live with, while I get to live free. Free from them, from the lies, from the weight of trying to prove myself to people who never deserved my truth in the first place. The wedding that was meant to break me became the moment I learned exactly who I am. And I'll never forget that. Neither will they. My name is Claire. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe for more.